Yep. Next up is Dennis with Shark Shooter. Hey.
Yeah, hi. My name is Dennis, and I'm developing a third-person shooter, which is inspired by like the GameCube era, like arcadey third-person shooter. And let me just show you how it looked like so far. This is a build of last week. Damn it. There we go. Okay. So this week I want to show you what I've been working so far, and I've been mainly doing visual improvements to the game. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you off how I like designed the character in the game. And so I wanted to do like a anthropomorphic character, meaning a animal with human-like proportions. There are plenty of them out there, I would say. Like you have fox as game characters or goats. I thought, hey, I want to like try make one based on a fish, and it's this one. It's a nurse shark, and um, so while staying in the house, I often people complimented me like, "Oh, this is a great character. I can't believe it. Yeah, like you designed it within a week." No, it took me 2 years to design the character. Unfortunately, I don't have like the very first sketches of that character because they're back in Berlin, and I unfortunately don't have a copy. Um, so I took like this theme, the shark, and try to create a character based on that. But when you're creating a character, you should always look for references. So since I'm making a game that is inspired by like Japanese arcade games from the GameCube era, I thought to also go like into this direction. So I looked up like retro sci-fi from like Japanese TV shows, and okay, here you can see like based on like this material, like I started concepting the character, and um, so one technique you, for example, you can do like when you define the silhouette of the character, you can then print it out and just try to quickly draw, based on your reference material, different concepts. So here I've tried to figure out, what kind of outfit the character could be wearing. Um, yeah, this was like this 3D model I created in ZBrush a year ago. Um, but after a while, the reason why it takes so long for me is that, I often design something, think, hey, this looks all right, but then 1 month later I look at it again and, well, this is actually shit. Well, let me try to do that again. So actually on my way to here in January, when I was riding the train through Denmark, I took this head and tried to maybe improve it a little bit, and this was like the resulting sketch out of that. Well, I mean, the resulting sketch was actually on paper. I then refined it digitally, and yeah, and so this was the original. This was the sketch, and then based on this sketch, I tried to further improve the character. The one thing that I did, you can see, I tried to stick to a theme, and like one like core pattern, and then we use that pattern throughout the character the entire time, and that you can see. I don't know if you can clearly see it. The basic pattern is basically the spike shape, and you see it occurring all over the character, over the place again. Like got it on the hair, like on the clothing, and it was like the latest change that I made. So I looked at her face again. I thought, hey, I think like the proportion could be a lot better. So what I did is like make the eyes a little bit bigger, put the entire face a little bit closer, because when like the nose and the eye level is kind of like closer to each other, the face seems younger and goes more into like this baby scheme direction, which has like a more cute, oppression on us humans, and yeah. So that was it, and then because I haven't showed it on stream, so until yet, I want to show off my procedural animation system again. So this is now how the character looks like, the newest model. You can see that I also modeled geometry under her helmet. So yeah, if you wonder how she'll look like without one, that's it. And so all the animation in my game is procedural generated. Normally you would, create like a control rig in Blender or Maya and then animate, a walk cycle there and export it into Unreal Engine. This is for the idle animation you can see here. This is the kind of workflow that I use for it. So I created this idle animation using a rig in Blender and exported it. But for the walk cycle, as I now increase like the speed variable, you can see the character starts walking, and all this motion you see here. This is all procedure generated. So let me just break it down. So what I do is I just import like 4 key poses for that character. One where their leg is extended, and one where the leg is about to step on the ground, and that for both legs. And there's 2 sets of those, one for walking and one for running. And based on the speed, as you can see, I change how quickly the character switches between these poses. And all you need now is interpolation to already kind of starts looking like movement. Also, like this tilting forwards, you see, is also generated in the engine, because as we humans, like, the faster we run, the more we kind of like start tilting forwards and to adjust like the balance of our body. This is obviously just not enough. What you also need is like a little bit of bouncing, because as we we jump from one leg to another. Especially like for like a normal walk, this is like very important and very characteristic in us humans. This already kind of looks good, but you can already see like the body feels a little bit stiff. That's because we also use our shoulders and our hips in order, to keep our balance, because we're putting one leg forward, so we need to shift our body like this in order to keep our balance. And the more force we put into our running, the stronger we start swinging our arms. So this is what we're gonna need. And when I isolate this now, when I turn off the keyframes, you can see like this is like the core like torso movements that we do while we're walking. Yeah, and so then the other couple things I added, of course, is look at for the head. So as you can see without it, the head swings left or right, but you want to actually have the character being focused, onto a thing. So that's what I do. And you have IK on the feet, but the IK that I currently have set up is a little bit problematic. Well, you can't see it here. It's basically for when you're walking on a slope, and the feet will adjust themselves based on the degree of the slope. And so since everything is procedural, I can actually like adjust the values of all this movement. So I can.
It's like regular walk.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot more control options, but I haven't implemented them in the interface yet. But this basically allows me to like reuse this animation for as many characters as I want, and having these values exposed, I can like easily like adjust the walk cycle based on like the body proportions of the character. So I hope that in the following weeks I can show you some examples of how I can put this to use. So yeah.
Did you max everything out?
Yeah, but unfortunately, like this interface doesn't allow like for the maximum of value. Actually, I could like crank this really up, and then you have polygons everywhere. Let's see how does it look.
Speed. More speed.
Highest.
This is how I want to play the game.
Yeah. It's kind of like the I don't know.
It looks kind of like a superhero dodge, like or like something from the Matrix. So.
Yeah, exactly. Just it needs like a couple of like special effects, like.
I have a question from the audience.
Mhm.
Can you catch your own character with the sharp grenade?
Like if you can hit yourself with a grenade. No, not with the shot grenade. This one is basically it kind of like scans, the area around itself, and then checks, what kind of team ID has like the character. And if it's like your own team ID, like it's not going to do anything. It's only going for like the opponents.
That was extremely useful, first off. Secondly, are there any other procedural animation properties that you're looking to add that aren't in there? Or are you pretty happy with it?
Yeah, there's actually a lot to add. Like one thing I would like to add is because the way it works is that I have to create the keyframes in Blender and then import it into Unreal, and then I can see how does it look in motion. It would be cool to actually manipulate the arms, for example. So in this case I would think, okay, they're kind of like too close to the body a little bit. It would be cool if I could like take the upper arm joint and put it like this and have the character swinging like this. Kind of like abuse the system as like a secondary animation tool, because there's also a way in the Unreal Engine to record animation. I tried this out, and in theory I could even like bake this animation and have it as a actual file. So because let's imagine I have like a big map and there are like 40 characters running around and they're all using the procedural system. I think this could like drain a lot of the performance. But if there's a way to bake all the animations, so for example for minor characters like NPCs, then I use like the baked animation so they don't have to go through the entire code of the procedural system. I could save some performance with that. So yeah, definitely I think there's a lot of opportunity to make this more complex.
So the benefit of this approach, as I understand it, is that it will be quicker for you to create new animations for your characters down the road.
Yes, because I'm not an animator or a rigger myself. Obviously, like when you work in a team, you have like a dedicated animation, department, I would say, and who does everything for you. But as a solo developer, you kind of have to find ways to like automate processes for yourself. And I think like this is like a way, because I know like this doesn't look perfect, but like for me as like solo developer, I think like, okay, this is good enough to finally get something started. And okay, I have the animations now out of my head. Now I can focus on making the gameplay.
Are the spine twists, hip tilt, and spine tilt, are they handmade animations as well, or are they purely generated?
So basically what it is basically the warp cycle is like a wave pattern between 1 and -1. So what happens is that I manipulate every bone down the spine and give it a value. So when the wave is at value 1, then the hip bone should be moving like 10 centimeters to the right, while at the same time like tilting a couple of degrees, while at the other spine, on top of the hip, needs to tilt into the opposite direction. And this kind of like creates a controller. This is actually what riggers do within like a software like Maya. They create like a spine controller that also does all of this automatically. So in a fully rigged character, you have a hip control point that you can manipulate, and the entire spinal column will adjust itself based on this one controller. And I basically recreated that inside Unreal Engine. So yeah, all this like the entire motion of the torso, it's not animated. It's being procedural driven, based on this like wave between 1 and -1, and you know, the faster the speed value is, the quicker, you know, this wave goes. Yes.
In addition to renaming the shark grenade to the sharknade.
Okay. Noted.
All right.
Thanks.